The young and the restless spoilers shock had happened in an instant, the kind of moment that stretches time and fractures reality, where breath freezes and instinct overtakes reason. Lily, unaware of the chaos that had erupted only moments before, walked into the stone corridor leading to the secluded garden maze. The air was thick with tension, something unspoken, invisible, but real. She sensed it before she saw it. The energy. The dread. And then she saw them. Carter, standing rigid, trembling slightly, one hand half inside his coat pocket, Kane, pale, lips parted in panic, and Chance, his eyes locked on Carter's every twitch. Lily's voice, calm but confused, slipped into the air like a match tossed into gasoline. "What's going on?" she asked, her brows furrowing. But before her mind could piece together the tableau before her, Carter's hand snapped out from his pocket, not with keys or a phone or anything benign, but with a black semi-automatic pistol, smooth and cold and all too real. In a flash, he lunged forward, wrapping one arm tightly around Lily's torso and pressing the muzzle of the gun against her temple. Her scream split the silence. "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Chance barked, his hands raising instinctively, his voice deep and steady, meant to disarm not just the weapon but the desperation swelling inside Carter. "Carter, don't do this," Kane urged, stepping forward, eyes wide with disbelief, his voice laced with a trembling urgency that barely masked the betrayal in his tone. "You're making this worse for yourself." But Carter's expression twisted with rage, his jaw clenched so hard it looked like it might shatter. "How can it get worse, huh?" he snapped, his voice breaking. "Everything I did, every filthy, desperate thing, was for you." His eyes burned into Kane's. "And now you want to throw me to the wolves?" The hand holding the gun trembled. The one gripping Lily tightened. "All of this, because of her," Carter hissed, glaring at Lily like she was the epicenter of the collapse. "And now she gets to walk away, and I get locked in a cage?" His voice cracked into something unhinged. "I'm not going to jail. I'll find my own way out." The world seemed to hold its breath. Every heartbeat in that maze thudded like war drums. Kane took another step forward. "You don't want to do this, Carter. I know you. You're not a killer." But Carter laughed, short and sharp, like glass breaking. "Aren't I?" he sneered. "Because it feels like that's what I was made to be." He jerked Lily tighter. She gasped, fighting against the grip, but Carter pressed the gun harder to her skin, and she froze. Her eyes darted toward Kane, terrified. "I trusted you," Carter whispered hoarsely to Kane. "And you let them come for me." Chance slowly began shifting his stance, calculating his angle, looking for an opening, any opportunity. But Carter wasn't stupid. He had been in the shadows too long to misread a tactic like that. "Back off," he shouted, his arm trembling harder now. "Don't play hero, Chancellor. I'll take her with me if I have to. Don't test me." Then came the stillness. That deadly, unbearable calm that always precedes blood. For a moment, no one spoke. Kane locked eyes with Carter, seeing the fear behind the madness. This wasn't just revenge. It was desperation, the raw kind that made men turn on their own shadows. Carter had been loyal once, more loyal than anyone deserved. He had cleaned up messes, buried secrets, protected Kane at every turn. But now that loyalty was weaponized, twisted into a noose he felt was tightening around his own neck. Carter had snapped. Then, just as Carter began backing away, dragging Lily toward the exit, Amanda's voice echoed in the distance, sharp and commanding. "Carter, stop. You don't have to do this." Her presence, unexpected and sudden, startled him. The distraction was small, but it was enough. Chance lunged. A shot fired, loud, deafening, slicing through the hedges and sky. Lily screamed as she fell to the ground, covering her ears, while Carter stumbled, his arm grazed by the bullet, the gun knocked from his hand in a spray of blood. Kane dove toward Lily, shielding her with his body, as Chance pinned Carter to the ground, wrenching his arms behind him. Screams turned into gasps, gasps into silence. The chaos ended not with another shot, but with the shuddering breaths of everyone left standing. Carter bled from the shoulder, his face pressed into the earth, whispering something incoherent, a mantra, maybe. Or a confession no one would understand. Later, as the sun began to sink behind the trees and police sirens echoed faintly, Kane found Amanda standing near the edge of the estate, speaking quietly into her phone. Her voice was low, professional, detached. When she hung up, he approached her, eyes hollow. "You called the authorities," he said, not accusing, but confirming. Amanda nodded. It was the right thing to do. Kane looked away, jaw clenched. "Are they still here?" She sighed. "They just finished the final sweep. The bodies are being transported to the coroner's office now." He blinked, as if waking from a dream. "So, it's over?" "The case is closed," Amanda said, her tone softening. "You're no longer a person of interest." Kane looked at her, searching her face for something, relief, perhaps. But all he saw was quiet resignation. "And me?" he asked, almost childlike. Amanda didn't answer right away. Because what could she say? That he was free? That this nightmare had ended? Or that something deeper had been broken, something no police report or legal proceeding could ever fix? Because even if Kane wasn't in handcuffs, even if Carter had been subdued, and even if Lily had survived, none of them would leave this place the same. Trust had been severed. Bonds shattered. And beneath it all lay the ugly truth. It wasn't just Carter who had been driven mad by betrayal, it was all of them, in their own way. Night fell, cold and merciless, casting long shadows over Genoa City. But in that darkness, one thing was certain, what had begun as a hidden crime had unraveled into something far more devastating. Because while cases could be closed, and suspects arrested, the wounds left behind, the ones that bled in silence, would linger forever. Under the gilded chandeliers of the Chancellor estate, where opulence masked decay and betrayal was stitched into every thread of the curtains, whispers of truth began to pierce the illusion. In the aftermath of the failed hostage crisis, Carter became both a suspect and a puzzle, one whose loyalty seemed both dangerous and misguided. The question haunted everyone in Genoa City's orbit: was Carter acting alone, or was he merely carrying out orders whispered in the dark? Was his madness self-propelled, or did Kane, the man he once served with blind devotion, plant the seeds of violence in him long before the chaos? And if Carter truly believed he was protecting Kane by targeting Lily, what did that say about the tangled morality of the man Kane had become? Victor, ever the architect of power and paranoia, didn't waste time entertaining abstractions. With eyes cold as the steel in his safe, he delivered his verdict to those around him: the truth must come out. No compromise. No deals. Someone had orchestrated bloodshed on Chancellor property, and Victor wasn't about to let his family be dragged into a scandal without drawing blood of his own in return. Meanwhile, Carter moved through the estate like a shadow, wounded but uncuffed, not yet imprisoned in body, though imprisoned in mind. He found Amanda alone at the bar, her expression distant, glass untouched before her, as if she too were unraveling in silence. She didn't flinch when he approached, though her posture tightened. Carter sat without asking, his voice low and hoarse. "They questioned me," he muttered. "Victor and Chance. Like I'm a monster." Amanda glanced sideways at him. "And aren't you?" He shook his head slowly, bitterly. "I didn't pull the trigger. Damian's blood isn't on my hands." His fingers curled into fists. Kane was merciful when he killed him. Amanda froze. "What did you say?" "You heard me," Carter said, his eyes flashing with the conviction of someone who truly believed in a twisted righteousness. Damian was going to ruin everything. Kane didn't have a choice. He protected Lily, he protected all of you. Amanda stared at him, uncertain whether this was a confession or an accusation disguised as faith. "And what about Lily?" she asked. "You nearly killed her." But Carter shook his head again, frustration curling through his words. "No. I was protecting Kane. She was going to leave him, Amanda. She doesn't see how much he's lost. How much he's sacrificed." As if summoned by fate or perhaps inevitability, Lily appeared then. Her presence was ice, cutting, measured, deliberate. She didn't yell. She didn't cry. She merely looked Carter in the eyes and said, "Don't speak for me." Then she turned her gaze toward Kane, who had just stepped into the room. Her stare was sharp enough to draw blood. "You disgust me," she said, voice calm and brittle as glass. Kane's shoulders tensed, but he said nothing. And with that, Lily walked out, not with fury, but with finality, a silence louder than any scream Carter could have imagined. In that moment, something inside him broke completely. Elsewhere in the estate, beneath polished marble and corridors built on generations of legacy, another negotiation brewed, one far more perilous. Nikki, steel-eyed and unwavering, cornered Amanda with Lauren Baldwin at her side. The glamour of their surroundings could not disguise the stakes. "I'm willing to give up Chancellor," Nikki declared, the words heavy with consequence. Amanda blinked. "You're what?" "You heard me," Nikki said. "The company, the title, the power, it's yours. Transfer it to whatever foundation, trust, or legal entity you want." Her voice darkened. "But in exchange, I want immunity for Nick. I want my son out of this mess, and I want it legally, cleanly, permanently." Amanda studied her carefully. "Even if he's guilty?" Nikki didn't flinch. "He's not. And I have proof." She reached into her folder and pulled out a signed affidavit, one Carter didn't know had been quietly obtained during the investigation. "This proves Nick had an alibi. A real one. And not just hearsay, time-stamped, signed by a witness. It places him away from the murder scene at the precise time Damian was stabbed." She handed Amanda another envelope. "And here's the property transfer. All Chancellor assets, signed over. You'll find everything in order." Amanda stared down at the documents. Her mind raced. The legal maneuvering was airtight. The moral territory, however, was murky. Could she accept such a trade? Justice for a company? Freedom in exchange for a legacy? But Amanda had seen too much rot beneath too many empires to believe in purity anymore. And if what Nikki said was true, if Nick really was innocent, then perhaps this wasn't a transaction. Perhaps it was the only way to stop a greater injustice. Yet the question still gnawed at the heart of it all: who killed Damian Kane? If not Carter, not Nick, then who? Victor suspected Kane. He always had. But without a confession or evidence, suspicion alone would never bring closure. Carter's words about Kane being merciful were haunting, yes, but they were also ambiguous. Had Kane killed Damian out of necessity? Or was it ambition masked as sacrifice? And if Amanda found the answer, would she bury it to protect Lily? Would she shield Kane, the man who had once pretended to be noble but now stood at the heart of too many whispered lies? As the sun dipped beneath the Genoa city skyline, casting long shadows through the stained glass windows of the Chancellor estate, everyone prepared for what came next. Amanda held the signed papers in one hand and the truth in the other. Carter sat in the shadows, believing he had done the right thing for the wrong people. Lily walked away, trying to salvage her dignity from the ruins of love. Kane remained still, silent, unreadable. And Victor? He picked up the phone and made one final call. Because if no one else would bring this truth to light, he would. "Let me know if you'd like me to continue this narrative, perhaps with Victor launching a private investigation, Amanda uncovering a hidden clause in the Chancellor deal, or Lily secretly recording a confession. I'm ready to expand the story in any direction you choose."